Blog Talk Radio.
Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to the Sunday, August 31st, 2014, 5 o'clock edition of Taylor's Detroit Tigers edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Right here on Blog Talk Radio, also simulcasting on YouTube. Right now, the Tigers trail the White Sox 6-2 after committing 4 costly errors. And they're in the bottom of the 8th right now with Evan Reed pitching. And unless the Tigers can rally in the top of the 9th, it doesn't look like the Tigers will take 3 of 4 or take the lone lead in the American League Central in any way. So the Tigers had Monday off last week. Then they took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees with a 5-2 win. Easily saved by Joe Nathan, and then the Yankees really rocked David Price, which is only a fluke. Took the game 8-4. The Tigers responded back on an Alex Avila walk-off single off the right field wall past Ichiro Suzuki in the bottom of the 9th, 3-2. Then the Tigers started this 4-game series in Chicago at U.S. Cellular Field against the Chicago White Sox with a 7-1 win. Then Max Scherzer got torched with 6 runs, 4 of them in the 3rd, taking a 6-3 loss in Game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, which is Saturday. Then the Tigers took Game 2 after almost blowing a 5-0 lead, 8-4. No thanks to most of the bullpen, who really needs to be shaped up this offseason. Thank goodness for Joe Nathan, who pitched another 1-2-3 inning. That's two straight 1-2-3 innings that Nathan has thrown against the Chicago White Sox, and overall. So after today's game, which is still going on right now, still 6-2 in the bottom of the 8th, Tigers head to Cleveland for 4 games, including tomorrow's Labor Day matchup at 4:05. Then the other 3 games will all start at 7:05 at Progressive Field. In their first meeting in that building, the Indians completed a sweep. But in the second series in that building, in that stadium, Tigers swept the Indians back. And then they return home for a World Series matchup revenge opportunity when they welcome the San Francisco Giants into town. Friday's game will start at 7:08, and then Saturday's game at 1:08, and Sunday's game finally at 8 o'clock on ESPN. Giants swept the Tigers in 4 games in the 2012 World Series, but those two teams haven't played each other since in any fashion or in any type of game, like even an exhibition game or a regular season game or in the World Series. Well, the Tigers have a chance to earn total retribution against the G-Men. That starts a 9-game homestand, which continues with the Kansas City Royals next Monday through Wednesday, and then they have Thursday off. Tigers have next Thursday off before starting next Friday and starting a 3-game series at home with the Tribe. From next Friday through Sunday the 14th against the Indians. 7:08 the first 2 games in that series, and 1:08 the Sunday matinee game. As we already know, the Tigers have a month left after today, exactly a month. The Indians and Royals don't play until tonight at 8, I assume. It starts at 8:07, and that will be televised on ESPN. All other games going on right now. The Baltimore Orioles lead the Minnesota Twins 12-8 at Camden Yards in the top of the 9th. Runners on the corners and 1 out. Abraham Nunez, Eduardo Nunez, facing Tommy Hunter. We have a tie game between the 2 teams from Texas, the Rangers and the Astros at Minute Maid Park, bottom 8. Speaking of ties, the Cubs and Cardinals are tied at 6 in the top of the 8th. The Angels lead the Athletics 6-0 in the top of the 4th in Anaheim. Cubs-Cardinals game is in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. Giants lead the Brewers 4-1 in San Fran bottom 3. Also in the bottom of the 3rd, Diamondbacks lead the Rockies 2-0 in Phoenix, and the Washington Nationals lead the Mariners 2-1 in Seattle. That game's also in the bottom of the 3rd. And one more game in progress. The Los Angeles Dodgers and San Diego Padres in a tight rivalry matchup. Top 4 knotted at 1. Marlins and Braves are getting ready to start their game today. We have 4 final scores right now. The Toronto Blue Jays lead the Toronto Blue Jays held on to beat the Yankees 4-3 at Rogers Center in Toronto. The Mets held on to beat the Phillies 6-5 in the Big Apple. The Reds hung on to beat the Pirates 3-2 in Pittsburgh, and the Boston Red Sox blanked the Tampa Bay Rays 3-0 at Tropicana Field in the AL East Super Bowl. I got a report yesterday that the White Sox are interested in signing Tigers designated hitter Victor Martinez during the offseason. And I was shocked to hear that such a thing.
What you hear? What's your problem there, pal? Can't a guy get a bit of sleep? Don't bug me.
Well, I don't know what to make of it. Victor Martinez is such a extraordinarily great hitter for the Detroit Tigers. His only problem is he can't run too fast. Especially after his, I can't remember, his torn ACL in the beginning of 2012, which kept him out for the season. But Gordon Brunt from thescore.com writes, the Chicago White Sox are already looking ahead to the offseason after an abysmal season that will see the Southsiders miss the playoffs for a 6th consecutive season. Bruce Levine tweets, quote, from an MLB source, the White Sox will be players in Tigers Victor Martinez free agent derby this fall, period, story at 670 The Score, which is in Chicago, unquote. Levine cites the payroll flexibility the White Sox will have following the retirement of Paul Konerko, the team's decision to not re-sign Adam Dunn, who just signed with the Athletics, and the potential trade of Gordon Beckham that will make a move for catcher Victor Martinez at age 35 possible. The White Sox, however, may have to pay a hefty price for his services, as Martinez's numbers this season will surely fetch top dollar on the open market despite his age. Coming into Saturday's game, he's hitting .328, .395, and .553 with 26 home runs and 86 RBIs during his 522 plate appearances. I'm not sure the White Sox have that much money. They're trying to let as many players, as many big players as they can go, just not only to retool, but just to get to Victor Martinez, to make room for him in the salary cap. I just don't know if that's possible. But like I said, Victor Martinez is an extraordinary hitter, but he can't run too fast, and the Tigers need very fast base runners on offense, and base runners that can actually hit and field without making too many errors. They need total machines out there on the field to be a World Series contender, as well as a much better bullpen as everyone desperately needs. Plus, the Tigers need to send Holiday down and call up James McCann either now or now would be the time after today, because tomorrow is September 1st, which means all Major League Baseball teams shift from 25-man rosters to 40-man rosters, and James McCann and Steven Moya will be called up, thankfully. And I think McCann will prove himself why he's an extraordinary backup, maybe a number one catcher, and put Alex Avila, their number one catcher, into the backup position, the backup catcher position, which makes Brian Holiday, who's played worse than Avila, the odd man out. If the Tigers do make the postseason, then here's what I want. I want both Avila and McCann to at least rotate catcher positions, pending whether a left-handed pitcher is on the mound for the opposing team or a right-handed pitcher is throwing. Because Avila is really good at the plate Avila hits really good against righties, but he hits horribly against left-handed pitchers. I have the statistics in an article from Jeff Moss of the Detroit Sports Rag. Right now, Avila, this year, thus far, has hit a slash line of 216, 269, and 299 against left-handed pitchers, and a 222, 343, and 397 average slash line against right-handed pitchers. You can find those numbers in his article titled "Dave Dombrowski Can't Take This Labor Day Weekend Off" at DetroitSportsRag.com or .net. It's labeled DetroitSportsRag.com, but the true URL is DetroitSportsRag.net, as I can see it, and you can see for yourself too. I'm going to post it on Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page right now, so you guys can. so you can see it again. Okay, next off, I figured out the real problem with the fans and the Tigers fans and the Tigers media and national media, some of the Tigers media and some of the national media bashing and making sexual remarks about Justin Verlander's girlfriend, Kate Upton, a current Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. They mention Kate Upton's breasts and being a distraction for Justin Verlander, for example, and her being a 5. And what I think of all that crap talk is they are insisting in sexual harassment against Kate Upton. Let me repeat that. Sexual harassment. And that's against the law. If you're part of the media and you're touching on some hot swimsuit model like that, you're going to get in a lot of trouble, and you're going to get fired from your job. That is not my prerogative, and it has nothing to do with sports, like I mentioned several times. What Justin Verlander does with Kate Upton is nobody's business. Fox Sports. I listened to Fox Sports Radio on a local affiliate at work today, and they were touching on Kate Upton and talking about her being a 5 and stuff. I thought, oh my goodness, I think I figured out the real problem here. So I am calling out Fox Sports Radio for that, for one good reason. This is just something you just don't do to innocent, beautiful girls, innocent, beautiful women. They may be a personal distraction, but that's something professional athletes have to overcome, and they can, and they will, and they do too. And besides, people like Kate Upton can help Justin Verlander out if they know enough about sports and, for example, baseball. And that's okay. But please, do not ever push those buttons again. Next topic. Dan Dickerson and Jim Price, the Tigers radio commentators, keep mentioning that Jose Quintana and the White Sox bullpen, for example, this weekend is always good against the Tigers.
I want you here. What's your problem there, pal? Can't I get a bit of sleep? Don't bug me.
Oh, man. Let me tell you what, Dan Dickerson and Jim Price. Dan Dickerson, I met a friend of yours. My dad and I met a friend of yours, Don Fochman, 2 summers ago when we were surveying on his property, and Don told me that he grew up with you back in the old days. But Dan, but Don Fochman, I really hate to rip your friend like this, but Dan Dickerson, if you're going to keep mentioning that some opposing player or bullpen or whatever is always good against the Tigers, like many times, you're going to be heard and viewed and described as a tool and a homer, a complete homer, and that's what drives the fans crazy and makes them tune out from the station that is locally affiliated with the Detroit Tigers radio network. Jim Price is saying the same thing, so I'm telling him all the same things. He's a homer too because he thinks everybody is. He and Dan Dickerson both think that everybody is good against the Tigers. What does it matter? Huh? Come on. Dan and Jim, man up for once. Otherwise, retire and let guys like me take over. I'm very good at play-by-play, and I don't make homer excuses like you guys do. I never did, and I never will. And that sounds very weak. White Sox just beat the Tigers 6-2. So I'm going to check the MLB.com regular season standings right now. So the Tigers are now a half game back. Of course, I actually don't have to check that. I shouldn't have done that, but I am trying to fill up a bit of the time. So the Indians with those wins against the Royals, they're trying to sweep them, and the Indians are now just 3.5 back of KC. And if they win, they're 2.5 back, and we could have a 3-team race in the American League Central Division standings, and that can't happen with the Tigers. They know they're better than that, a whole lot better. They still have those major bullpen issues. They still have those major bullpen issues this all season long, like John the Doc Macaroon and Adam the Jock Straczynski had mentioned several times before from the Detroit Sports Podcast Corporation. So that's all I have to get off my chest.
60 seconds.
That wraps it up for this week's Tigers edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on Blog Talk Radio. I'll be on Spreaker later tonight, and then back here, and all week, and then back here next week on Blog Talk Radio at 5 p.m. TTFN, ta-ta for now.